Hey everybody, it's Lucas Welsh here, and we've got a little bit of a treat for you. This is a kind of a home piece, kind of a historical piece. It's got some roots to a good friend of mine, and so we're gonna go through this thing. This thing is pretty trashed up, but we're gonna see if we can't get this thing back into playing condition. And we're gonna really try and keep the originality of the piece as best we can. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Here we go. This is the beast. And I mean, this isn't the worst that I've seen, but we've definitely got a lot of issues going on here. I mean, the first and the foremost, we got this nasty big crack in the top here. And look at how that top flexes. Okay, look at how much, like, just all the structural support is gone in that top. Nasty big crack all the way up here. Seams are loose all over the place. I don't think, well, I kind of think that the back and side seam is tight. The neck is tight, but boy, has she seen some stuff. So that neck looks to me like it's been broken off and repaired, or maybe that's a graft. You can see that there's been a tenon mortised right into that sucker there. And so this is kind of a unique piece. If you look at how the fingerboard is way out, this is, you know, even the fingerboard's had a piece glued onto it to make it, you know, the right length, which I think it's the right length. I haven't measured it yet. This, it's branded Ole Bull, okay? My best guess at this is that this is probably a German factory violin, you know, early 1900s. Maybe, yeah, I'm just going to stick with that early 1900s. I don't think it's any later than that. And yeah, but this has a label in it from a Saskatchewan maker. Okay, this has a Maximilian Lang, violin maker, Raymore, Saskatchewan, Canada, 1964. Okay, so Maximilian Lang, he did build some violins. I do not believe that he built this violin. I've seen some of the representations of his work, and this is a different kind of a quality of work. I believe what he did is refurbish this violin, most likely. And this could be, you know, the violin looks like it's all in keeping. I'm looking at the varnish. This has actually a nice varnish. Like this has got a little bit more depth to it than some of the real junkers out there, if you will. You know, so there's a couple different tones that I'm seeing. It doesn't have a real very high flame back. And you know what? Honestly, that means nothing. Some of the best violins really don't have much flame on the back. But it's, so the story goes that it got left in a basement next to a heater. And when the guy went to open it up or whatever it was, noticed that, you know, this crack had come out, it had dried out, the seams had separated, so forth and so on. So we're gonna, let's get a real good look at this and drink it in for a second there. So the plan of attack here is not to mess with the aesthetics. We're not going to go, you know, stripping, varnish, revarnishing. That's kind of not my jam to begin with. That's the last thing I really want to do. We want to make sure this thing is structurally sound and playable. That's the key here. That is the whole key. We want it to stay together and last. So we've got a couple bad things happening here. So number one, this crack here, that runs right over top of where the sound post is. That's a bad place for a crack. This one here, that runs right alongside the tone bar, the bass bar, right alongside of it. Another bad place to have a crack, because it's kind of tough to get cleats to reinforce it, and this needs quite a bit of reinforcement because it's all gone mushy and soft, right? Like, the neck, the fingerboard is off of a different violin, and it's been really flared out here, so I can't see this being very comfortable to play. When I put my hat on it, it's not very comfortable to play. We're gonna try and clean that up a little bit. We're not gonna go crazy, but we are gonna try and clean that up a little bit. And I've been trying to get this end pin out for a little while now, and it's not a happening thing, just the way that it is. So let's crack this puppy open, shall we? So you can see I pulled the end pin out. I'm looking in the inside just to see if I could see anything else that I haven't seen already. And now I got my palette knife out and I'm going to start opening this up. No problem finding an open seam here since it had dried out so much. You can see me dipping my palette knife every once in a while, and that's alcohol, straight alcohol. And the reason we use alcohol is because alcohol, when it touches hide glue, actually crystallizes the hide glue and makes it a little bit brittle. You have to be careful, of course, because alcohol can really mess up a finish, so we just really don't want much. And then if your palette knife starts getting gummed up or whatnot, you just give it a quick wipe off. I use a little steel wool there just to wipe it off and clean it up. It's important too that your palette knives aren't sharp. You don't want sharp points or anything. Oh, there, a piece broke off. I mean, that was bound to happen anyway because this thing is so brittle, and that crack had separated that piece anyway right across the F-hole, so very common place for it to break open. Did give me a little bit of trouble through some of these spots. Like I said, this glue, I'm not sure if it was all hide glue or not. This fiddle had been opened up previously, but we fought through a couple spots and we wiggled her free. So now you can get a real good look at that label. You can also see those corners are blocked out. Lining is butted up. It's not butted up all that great in some spots, so but it's there. When we get in here, we can see too that the end block is cracked. Not sure if you can see that, but you can see the end block is cracked. Really common. But the rest of it's holding together. So we're gonna give this a little, get the dust bunnies out of here. We're just gonna okay. This is a very typical looking sound bar, you know, running just a little bit of an angle, very typical. And that sound bar, that tone bar is loose all the way through. That's why there's no structural support in this bad boy. So now we've got a few things we've got to do now. Okay. The one thing I'm looking at here is when I put this back together, okay, I'm going to just put a little pencil line where this crack is so that you can, no, I'm not going to do that. So that crack kind of runs at a bit of an angle like this. And then here it gets really close to the bass bar. Okay. And yeah. See, it runs right there. Now, say this is my cleat that I want to put. So I'm going to glue this, clamp it back together. These are actually going to close up nice. There's no big gaps really, but I want to put some cleats on here. So on this top part here, I can probably I can put a cleat and I'm getting good coverage both sides. And even if I buttress them up against the bass bar and then feather them out nice and thin them up, this top part here, I'd be comfortable cleating. This bottom part, however, not gonna be the case. Now, what the proper way to fix this would actually be to take this bass bar right out, which isn't a big deal, and to put a cleat that would come right underneath. So, this bass bar would be notched out to fit over top of the cleat. And honestly, to get that to hold and to bear, I think that's going to be the only real solution. Now, a saving grace here that I'm just looking at now, this is where your sound post goes up against, and it's a little bit dimpled from having a sound post move in and out of there. But if I go and I just gently scrape that flush again, the crack doesn't go through. Oh, check that. It's cracked right on a grain line. Perfectly on a grain line. And that crack goes right there. So, that's 18. Yeah, I mean, that's the sound post is going to sit right there. That's just not a good thing. So we're going to have to put a sound post patch over that, and then we're going to have to reinforce that. Crack goes all the way up and down there. That's this one here. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And I know some of you might be saying, geez, that's a lot more work than I would go to on a, an old trade fiddle. But this is a family piece. It belonged to my friend's dad. And by golly, we're gonna make this thing play. We're gonna do it right, regardless of regardless of, you know, the time investment that we're going to have into it. Some of those things at a certain point stop mattering. You know what I mean? You make a decision that you're going to do something, and you're going to do it right, and you're going to make that fiddle play again. For some people, it matters. For some people, it doesn't matter. You know, and I think this is one of those cases where it's not a matter of, whoa. Good. So I'm going to say that somebody's regraduated this violin. When I first tapped this violin, and I could feel the wood, and even when I grab it, I can feel the flex in the wood. Somebody has thinned this out thin. Okay. In places they've went thinner than I would in a regrad. Let us see what they did on the. I don't think they touched the back too much. So, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Now, I talked a little bit earlier about the corners being blocked out, and that it was a sign of a better build. Okay, now I'm going to show you here a couple different things. So number one, this isn't a full corner block. Full corner block would fill this void all the way. Full corner block. And these linings, they're just butted up against this. On a better build, they would actually be mortised in or angled in to take that. So while this has been corner blocked, and that's good, it's, you know, probably the mark of a, you know, somebody that was trying to do a little bit better quality work than the neighbor down the street. I'm actually a little bit more excited about this, knowing now that it's been regraduated. And this bass bar, when I seen the bass bar, I was pretty sure that that was not original to the fiddle. There's a couple things that kind of lead me to know that as well. Otherwise, this fiddle is in pretty good shape. So we're gonna have to do something with this tail block. We're gonna have to either repair it or replace it. You know, we'll see. Again, we're all about function, but we don't want to, you know, we're all about keeping the original, but we want it to function properly. Now that end pin was really tight, and it was just driving home. So the crack isn't right across the hole. I think we could probably fix that, and that'll be okay. We don't have any bulging on the sides anywhere. That's awesome, because that's a time thing to get going. Now I know you're looking at this and you're going, geez, you know, this is serious. It's going to take some time. Well, yes, it's going to take some time. We're not gonna go doing big fancy varnish retouches. You know, the cracks are actually quite clean. So we're gonna get those cracks cleaned up, and they tell the story. I mean, that's part of the story. We're gonna get this all cleaned up, and we're gonna do a little bit of work to make sure that they're, you know, not great big yellow bare wood patches there. So they'll blend a little bit. So we're gonna get this all glued up here so that we're sure that it's there. I'm gonna have to cut some little bit longer cleats and radius them to the curve of the inside of the violin. So that's gonna take a little bit of doing and a little bit of time. There's a little bit of funny business here now after I've had a little bit of extra trouble, so but nothing that is gonna really make a difference. And we'll do a different tone bar now that we have to do a tone bar anyway. We'll do a different tone bar, and we'll make sure that this is voiced the way that it should be. We'll go from there. So that'll be it for right now. Thanks for stepping in, and hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next part, and we're gonna keep going on this project and try and punt this one out as quick as we can. Cheerio.